Hi.
Who are you rooting for tonight?
I'm rooting for everybody black.
All my life I had to fight. Hush now, child, and don't cry.
My name is Cyan Kelly, and I'm a political science and communication major here at St. Louis University. For my topic, I really wanted to explore something that is personal but also very important to the world, and that is representation and inclusion in the entertainment industry. So much of what we believe in ourselves in today's world is shaped on what we see online. In TV shows when we're young, we learn how to read and write, and even sing songs. TikToks determine what we say in our lingo. I wanted to figure out what is the gap between our understanding from things online to the biases that we create in our real world. Whose stories are told and whose are left out? Who decides what we see? These are questions that I wanted to ask in my Multimodel Project. This project is short, but also a creative exploration in my little digital diary documentary form of people behind the scenes when it comes to stylists, creatives, visionaries, actors, producers, anyone I could find who are redefining the meaning of representation and what it means to be an artist.
So as I've gone through this project, I've learned to realize that my peak was Jason Bolden and that it would only go downhill from there. However, for the rest of this video and the other parts of the episode, I will be including clips from YouTube that I think are important and should be stated for my project. And I will talk more about this in my process paper, maybe even in person, about how it can be very hard to get in contact with people and things don't fall through when people have very busy schedules and lives. And this started as a really good lesson and not just that looks into Hollywood from a representation level, but also on a business level when it comes to contacting celebrities about with their publicists and other things too. So just a little bit of thought there as I continue to go through this project with a lot less of what I intended to have, which is a little bit disappointing, but also still an important way to relay media.
Jason Bolden, a world-renowned stylist who's known for dressing many famous people, including Dwayne Wade, Stephen Curry, Michael B. Jordan, Yara Shahidi, and now, in this amazing time for Wicked, Cynthia Erivo for all of her looks in the last year and more, as she's been on her El Papa press tour. When I sat down with Jason Bolden, renowned stylist, creative director, and cultural tastemaker, one of the first things he told me was that he wasn't classically trained. This wasn't something that was in the cards for me. And that makes complete sense because he was on the track of being a doctor. He was at Northwestern. Instead, he studied. He consumed books, magazines, and documentaries. He immersed himself in the world of fashion and art, building his own curriculum in his own lane. He made it clear that representation wasn't something he stumbled into. It was something that was built before him. He named legends like Lisa Cooper, June Ambrose, and the iconic Andre Leon Talley, Black pioneers who opened doors and created space. He said they made it possible for us to belong in this industry. They shaped the narrative. Despite working in these spaces that always have been kind to Black creatives, Jason shared something rare. He never struggled with his identity. He said he was lucky. He grew up in a space where his identity was not suppressed, where he was allowed to live his life as he was. But that didn't mean the journey was easy. He later talked about the Willie Lynch letter, a system designed to weaken the mind and strip people of their sense of worth. You start to believe you're not enough, he said, that you're not qualified. And that's when he said something that I will never forget. You have to flip it. Strengthen the mind. Keep the mind strong and the body too. Because without a visual, you cannot dream. Let that sink in. Without a visual, you cannot dream. Those words almost summarize the entire thought process behind this project. How can Black people, Black and brown, other people of color, or people who are minorities see themselves in spaces and put themselves in there if they cannot see people who inspire them and look like them? Representation isn't about checking a box. It's about possibility. For him, it was about seeing people on his screens like Toni Braxton or Girlfriends and realizing that can be me. I can do that. Jason reminded me that we all have the agency in how we show up. Your identity is who you feel like you are. You get to choose. Every day, you wake up and you make a decision. Even the hard stuff like working out or building a legacy is a choice. Working hard is hard. Not working hard is also hard. Choose your hard and how you feel. It's about building worlds, funding projects, and creating spaces where everyone has a place. He believes in shifting culture from the inside and out. In the interview, he said, you get to curate and narrate your story, what you want to leave on the planet. Most importantly, Jason Bolden mentioned, you should be a book of knowledge. You should be a sponge. You should be a sponge. Soak up things in your life. Soak up the bad things, the good things, so you can learn and not have to struggle through it someone else struggled through. Soak up the good and bad things in your life. Some things that people have gone through that are good and bad, because you never know if you can be able to avoid a situation because you learned through someone else. No matter what profession, what role someone plays, or what they do, you can soak up that and take it and learn for something else. And finally, he said, study. Get lost. Drown yourself in the history that brought us here and the vision that will take us further. What he means by that is that no matter where you came from, you must know. And that's be your motivation in everything that you do. Whether in a good way or a bad way, you should be able to understand that and prolong yourself forward. Jason Bolden doesn't just style icons. He is one. And through his voice, he reminded me, and hopefully you, that representation isn't just powerful. It's necessary. Because when people are allowed to be, success follows. And when you can see it, you can believe it, and you can be it. Thank you, Jason Bolden.
We talk about this all the time. She's like, her show was Living Single, mine was Girlfriends. And yeah, single. Oh, in a 90s kind of world. I'm glad I got my Keep your head up, what? Oh, your head up, that's right.
I want to say Raven Simone from That's So Raven. I was like every other kid in the early 2000s watching Disney Channel, and all of my shows, like I loved Hannah Montana, I loved Zack and Cody, Kim Possible, but no one really looked like me. That was my first.
For me, besides Mindy Lahiri on the Mindy Project, what else is there? Oh right, yes, Princess Jasmine.
Princess Jasmine. I was gonna say Mulan. Mulan from Disney. I was just like, yes.
I think folks just enjoy seeing their story told in a way that's highlighted for a national audience.
I don't know that we understand how much images affect us, you know what I mean, and change our perspectives.
Growing up and not really seeing a lot of yourself in me and sort of being part of the change feels really awesome, and also really like a big responsibility at the same time.
You have to become more than just a person that says lines. You have to be somebody that stands for something.
You have to embrace and value your own identity.
It's possible to tell a story and to be unapologetic while telling it.
If we haven't shown the world that like, yo, we're here, we have a story to tell, it's like, if you can't see that, I don't understand what else we need to do to show you that.
I think diversity is not just the need of the hour, it's what should be normal. Entertainment should look like what the world looks like, and the world is an incredible mix of people from everywhere.
I think it's extremely important and truly is a quest for me as a producer to push a representation where I can.
When I first came into this industry, I think like there was more of a difference for me between watching things with diversity and representation, and diversity being, you know, just kind of throwing people in to make up this kind of larger, you know, rainbow or whatever. And then representation, which can take place more behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, which is like authentic stories, you know, written authentically or about specific experiences. And I felt like I came in at a time where diversity was more than representation. And now I think that there's just a lot more that's kind of a part of like the larger cinema scope of everything, and that has representation.
Part of representing a trans character on television is also that it's good representation too. That's a really big thing. It makes me really happy to be able to do that.
Giving more stories of trans women all around the world, it really not only set the stage for me, but I knew it set the stage for everyone that was coming after me.
Oftentimes you feel like you're just doing this in isolation and people can't understand what you're going through. But then you see someone telling your story and you're like, they get it.
To have the community and the representation involved from day one and that authenticity and not as an afterthought, that's key.
I think specifically the Latin community is like, yo, we're gonna write ourselves into history.
I saw so many people who had not had their voices heard, who grew up like me feeling invisible. If I could have my career stand for one thing, it's that, you know, I want kids who grew up like me in families similar to mine to feel proud of who they are.
So I can definitely relate to what a lot of people were saying in these interviews about being able to see others and then eventually go forward, because it took that for me. I always talk about how one of the most important parts of my life was when in 2019 all the major title holders were black. Miss America, Miss World, Miss USA, Miss Teen USA, and Miss Universe. They were all black. And that was the most empowered I'd ever felt. And after that, I had started winning. I won my first pageant in 2020. So being able to see girls who look like me win challenged me to push myself further. But before then, I didn't feel as if I could even try. And as I go forward, I try to be the best example of the girls and really push myself to be the best that I can be, because I want to show girls that it's not just about the way you look. It is your merit based on how hard you practiced and worked. And these last 9 years, I've worked so hard. And as a role model, I try to make sure that I share that with girls, because things like this don't happen overnight. Things like success don't happen overnight. It takes a lot of time, but it takes, I feel like something that people say all the time, and I feel it endlessly, is you have to work 2 times harder to get half the credit. And I feel like that's me a lot of times, because there are times when I feel as if I have done the work. I've overdone the work. I'm overqualified and I don't get noticed or recognized. There are times when I do, but it just takes having to work even harder, unfortunately, and going back to the drawing board and see what I can do to continue to succeed and thrive. But I'm grateful, I'm blessed, and I'm so proud of myself. And I think that looking forward, I hope to see more black girls compete in pageants to feel more confident in themselves. So to see girls, just no matter what you look like, succeed and feel happy and find yourself being celebrated, because at the end of the day, that's all what we all want. That's what artists want.
I did conduct a lot of non-formal interviews when it came to industry working with my dad and stepmom. They are both in the music industry as producers or as publicists to artists. So I did ask a few questions that I thought were important to me to ask and kind of get a little bit more feedback on when it came to representation. And that really comes with also publicity and promotion. It costs a lot of money to promote things, and a lot of smaller indie / small businesses, or even like black businesses and black entertainment businesses, lack the funding to be able to have the proper publicity to be able to even become more represented in the media industry. So I would also look forward to finding some way to understand how we can put more funding into these maybe smaller brands, and even with the rise of how Sinners just did in theaters and its first weekend, when it is record-breaking opening weekend since Nope for an original film, is something that I think that we should break into as a society. I think, again, when I come back to the beginning of what I said in the beginning of the fact that media as a whole is how we understand ourselves. I've been saying let her cook because I've been hearing let her cook so much. So being able to understand how we as people can continue to uplift black and brown people, or people that we continuously use for their vernacular and sayings and other things every single day, is a way to promote that, and also to give credit where credit is due. I think specifically the Renegade situation with the girl who created it, Jaleel Harmon, and she was not given the credit for when she created it by Charlotte D'Amelio. And now Charlotte D'Amelio is very famous on Broadway, has been on Dancing with the Stars, and Jaleel Harmon is not on that level and does not have the same amount of following. So making sure that we give credit to those who deserve the credit, making sure that we're promoting different things that we think are important to us when we're taking knowledge from them, they're using their vernacular in different situations, and figuring out ways to donate or create publicity options for people who maybe need it the most in times where we feel like there's a lack of diversity. Thank you. To end off strong with one more final clip, I want to end off with one of the things that inspired this essay. Yes, one was Issa Rae, but one was also Viola Davis saying that she was a comparable to certain artists. And I think it's very important to end off after I shared my story about pageants, because I think that it gives a different perspective from a different person, a different career, different idea of how representation is and how it can lead to discreditation when it comes to the hard work you do put in the industry.
We won't talk about gender inequality of pay, because a lot of the women who've stepped forward, and I stand in solidarity with them, okay? What they're getting paid, which is half of what a man is getting paid, well, we get probably a tenth of what a Caucasian woman gets. And I'm number one on the call sheet. And then I have to go in and I have to hustle for my worth. That's what I feel like I'm doing. When I demand what I feel, listen, I have more than a 30-year professional career. I had a friend who said, yeah, but Viola, your career is better than my career. I said, yeah, but you can't compare me to you. Because once again, I got the Oscar, I got the Emmy, I got the 2 Tonys. I've done Broadway, I've done off-Broadway, I've done TV, I've done film, I've done all of it. I have a career that's probably comparable to Meryl Streep, Julianne Moore, Sigourney Weaver. They all came out of Yale. They came out of Juilliard. They came out of NYU. They had the same path as me. And yet, I am nowhere near them. Not as far as money, not as far as job opportunities, nowhere close to it. And yet, I have to constantly get on that phone, and I have fabulous agents, by the way. They are getting it. But I have to get on that phone, and people say, you're a black Meryl Streep. You are, and we love you. We love you. There is no one like you. Okay, then if there's no one like me, you think I'm that? You pay me what I'm worth. That's how I feel. That's what I do as a human being, as an artist. I want to build the most complicated human being. But what I get is the third girl from the left.
Looking back at this full project, I will say that I am disappointed that I didn't get any other interviews besides Jason Bolden due to my connection, because I think that I could have done a better job with this. However, I do think that the media I supplied is very good for what I mean when I say representation, and I hope that we as a society can continue to create real, genuine representation and create spaces for people, girls, women, black people, all minorities, and to be welcome in any space, especially in this age where we have no idea what's going to happen with the government every single day. So I think that I am proud of this project. However, I do wish that I could have had more interviews, and I also joined a sorority this month, so you know, there was a lot of times where I could not do certain things or didn't have the opportunity to because I was preparing for that, and I think that it also played a negative part, but I'm not mad at it, and I'm proud of my work to try and show something that's positive but also critical of the world, because I think that we can only go to get change when we go through criticism. Sometimes you have to call out things that are wrong so we can become good. So I do have hope in our society. I do have hope in our people in this country specifically who are, I feel, some of the biggest culture creators in this world, in this universe. So I'm very excited for the future. I have hope, and thanks for watching my little Digi-Diary mixed media formed documentary, and I really did enjoy this project.